Well, if you can hear me, go ahead and unmute yourselves just for this, the beginning here. I can hear you. Part of me was wondering if I could hear you. For some reason, my video is not, it's not working. Are you seeing just a black screen for me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Trevor.
Yes.
Would your computer be like mine and have like a slip on top that has a cover for the camera?
Yeah, it does, but I've got that cover open.
Because I have a Minnesota West laptop, so I have that on my computer.
Sure. I'm still admitting students, so we're going to take a couple minutes just to get everybody in. Did you see that? I see some of you have seen the where you zoom in from poll. We have about 29 people total, about half and half for credit and half for that are auditing. But while we wait just a minute or two for anybody else to come in, I'm going to keep on putzing around on my video. And see what I can do.
I know a tech at Minnesota West told me if it's not the slide that's there, it's probably down in the settings on your Zoom that is not linked or anything or have off or something.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm putzing around right now. I've got the integrated camera chosen in my video. I'm in the video settings. Kind of. I might have to get a different computer for the zooming part of this. All right. Hold with me for just a second while I grab a different computer to see if I can't get a camera working. Larry. Grab a different computer because for whatever reason this one isn't working. Yeah, that one that has the. It's not a great way to professor is late for class.
Down here, if it's okay.
Yeah.
Unless you want me to put it back up.
No, I'll leave it down there for now, just in case. All right. So while my other computer is wrapped up so that I can get it there and actually have a video that works, let's kind of dive in just a bit and talk just some logistics. Like I said, we have about 29 people. Are you able to hear me okay?
I'm hearing you just fine. It could be because
thanks.
I'm on the same Wi-Fi though.
Oh, that's Jordan. Did Parker or Joseph Smith, either one of you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Great. Okay. All right. Sandy, I see that you're having trouble connecting, but it looks like you are in. I can see you and everything, Sandy. So you just can't see me yet. But hang tight. I've got another computer revving up here. Okay. So for those of you who may not know me, my name is Tay Oder. I hail from the Worthington, Minnesota area. I did my undergraduate at Minnesota Bible College and Emmanuel School of Religion down in Johnson City, Tennessee. And I've got a Bachelor of Arts in Pastoral Leadership and Biblical Studies and Theology, and I've got a MDiv in Christian Ministries, but I concentrated in worship and I'm about one class shy of an Old Testament concentration as well. So I lapped up as many Old Testament classes as I could in my master's program, which was great fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But it does not make me an expert by any means. So I look at our time together kind of as a journey together. It's been a while since I've done the hard academic work, but as soon as I have a computer that will show my face, I do have something to show you. So I'm about ready to join the meeting here, and let me see. I'm gonna grab the passcode to get in, and then I can join you guys. So give me about 2 minutes.
I keep getting kicked from Zoom, man.
What?
I keep getting kicked from Zoom.
You're getting kicked out?
I keep getting kicked and I lost back.
You might be too far away from the hub here, so.
They're further away from
No.
Well,
It's just my luck that I need an update on my other computer for Zoom. But so isn't that just the way it goes? All right. Well, let me walk through with you guys the process of the class and how it works. I know some of you have done several SALT classes, and but I've been in a home with a SALT student, and sometimes it's a little confusing on when things should happen. So the format of our class is basically your reading and your videos happen the week before. So you want to have that in preparation for your Monday night class, our time together here. And then you'll want to take note of the discussion topic. And there's an assignment for that you can read what that discussion topic is. It's also in your syllabus. So, so you want to take a note of that because we'll talk about that discussion topic in our Zoom meeting. All right. Everything opens up at least 2 weeks in advance. So that's the first thing is to prep, and that's by doing the week's work, the reading and the videos. And then you'll attend the Monday night class, which was what you're doing here right now. And then by Thursday of every week, that's when you'll submit your discussion post. If you attended class, then your discussion post is literally probably a 2-minute gig where you just say, hey, I was in class, and one of the things that struck me in my discussion group was, I had never thought of the covenant in the way that the way that we described it, or whatever. It's like just a sentence or two about maybe an aha, or even a question, or something that came out of the discussion that you had in class on Monday night. The reality is you could do that in like within seconds after our Zoom meeting this evening on Monday nights, but I'm just giving you until Thursday to get that done. I know life gets busy. So by Thursday night, that discussion post done. If you miss class and you're taking it for credit, and you can't make a Monday night, then you need to watch the recording, and I'll send the recording out either Monday night or Tuesday morning. You need to watch the recording of our Zoom meeting together, and that gives you a chance to kind of see what the discussion was and how we, what we talked about, the things that I brought to light. And then you will actually need to do that discussion post on your own. And that's like, I think it's like 150 word discussion post, which isn't too horrible, but I'm ready to get back in here. So let me pause for just a second. And now we're going to get some weird, probably feedback. Here we go. I'm going to unmute this one. Can you hear me? And can you see me?
Can see you, and we hear you off your other one.
Okay, that sounds great. All right. Well, it's nice to see you all, and it's nice to meet you all. I think today, right now, we have about 13 or 14 of us in here, and you guys took that poll that I had out on where you're zooming from, right? So let's take a look at that real fast. I'm going to end the poll and view the details. All right, so we have people zooming from Spring Valley, Zimbabwe. Oh my word, that's awesome. Worthington, in her kitchen. I have a feeling that's Sandy Albert. Your grandparents' house, that's great. Eau Claire, Rochester, Park Rapids, New Berlin in Wisconsin, got a couple. Wisconsin, La Crosse, Viroqua, And Northside Community Lacrosse again. That's awesome. Northside Community Church. Are you guys kind of having? It looks like you might have 2 or 3 people there. You guys kind of gathering together.
We had 9.
Awesome. That's great. All right. Well, welcome all of you. Like I said, I'm from the Worthington Christian Church. My ministry experience included about 10 years serving for Minnesota Bible College as their admissions director. And in that time, I visited Viroqua and Eau Claire and what were the other ones? I don't know that I've been to New Berlin, La Crosse. And so I had several families over in that Wisconsin area, and of course been around Minnesota quite a bit as well. So since my Bible college years and my Master's of Divinity program, I have been in northern Minnesota in Park Rapids, and I have been serving as the camp manager for Pine Haven Christian Assembly up here. This summer was my 20th summer doing that. And so kind of a variety of ministries. Did about 7 years of worship and church ministry down in Tennessee when I was doing my graduate studies down there as well. So that gives you a little bit of a background to me, and we'll all learn a little bit more about each other as we proceed. So I was talking about the format, and so you'll attend Monday night. You'll submit the discussion posts on Thursdays. Your quizzes and your papers and things like that are all due on Sunday night, the week after the class. So, and then of course, during that week that you're doing those quizzes or finishing those things up, then you'll be prepping for the next week. So you kind of have an overlap where you're prepping for Monday night's class, but you're finishing off the week, the previous week's assignments and all that. So, so that's kind of how that works. Does anybody, particularly credit students, anybody have questions on how that maps out?
I want to just let you know real quick, since you're the instructor, I do have a learning disability. So
Okay.
I'm going to try my best. My Sunday school teacher, as you know, Sandy, if I don't understand, I'll go to her. And if we can't, then we'll reach out to you. It's part of my program with disability director and Social Security to reach out to someone midway. So I'm glad my Sunday school teacher is taking the class. She can step up and help.
That's great. That's awesome. I'm super glad that you're here. And of course, we understand that the SALT classes are being taken by people who are working, and you're just non-traditional students. And there's a lot going on in a non-traditional student's life. Sandy, go ahead.
Okay, I'm confused on the dates. I have this one here that has the dates of the assignments. Then I go on to Canvas, and the date was October 14th, of course, to have things done. And I thought,
Yeah.
No. So I need a guideline on for tonight, what was to be done.
Yeah. So the latest syllabus should be up. And if you pulled out your syllabus like last Tuesday when I first kind of opened up that part of it or sent that out, there's been some tweaking to that. Basically the dates have pushed back, not pushed forward. So you will see some assignments, they say October 14th, but that just means that they opened up. So I have a lot of assignments that are opened on October 15th, but they have a due date that's separate. Videos, reading, they don't have due dates set to them. They only have the opening date.
Okay, so the quiz is what we look at. Yes, okay.
Yeah, the quiz is yeah, so the quiz is and I thought about typing that up so you could kind of see that format, but basically you're reading and watching the videos ahead of our class. You're doing all the turn in assignments the week after the class.
So what was due for tonight?
Tonight, basically, you just needed to do your reading and do your videos.
The videos, okay. All right,
Yeah.
that's what I gathered. Right, okay, got it. Okay.
And this first night is, like it's the first night, but you're supposed to know that you had things to do, and that to me I was like, eh. So I'm not stressing about. In fact, I think Yeah, so just in the course of this week, you'll just want to kind of double up if you haven't had a chance to.
Yeah.
You'll want to kind of double up and take care of and kind of catch up in some ways. So and then some of what I share, which is actually some review, will probably be maybe be new, which will be fun for you. So the text is it looks kind of like this. Well, it is that. It looks like that. And it's a hoss. Look at that. That is a huge text. But I will tell you, out of all the different Old Testament classes that I've taken, it is one of the most interesting reads. Like I have really thoroughly enjoyed reading it. So so don't be intimidated by it. It's very, very readable. You can find it on Kindle, and I think I have it in Audible. You can find it on Audible too.
Yeah, it's
So if
on
you need-
Audible. I checked that because that's what recommends with my disability.
Yep, good. So if you want to listen to it, you can listen to it. But man, I was taking notes and writing things in the margins, and it's just it's a really good read. And I appreciate the perspective that they're coming from. So so in light of that, are there any other questions that you guys have, just about the logistics of the class?
Yeah, Professor Oder, I'm attending at Northside and La Crosse, and I have registered for the class to be taking it for graduate credit. And I even got confirmation for registration, but I have not been included on the list, nor do I have a Canvas class. And so I wonder if it's just they're processing that, because I was like the 14th, it was the day before it was the last day. But I'm probably not going to be getting the videos emailed to me. I didn't have the assignment tonight. I actually am taking it with other grad credit students, so he let me read some out of his book. But yeah, I just want to get that figured out.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me your name again.
My name is Caleb Lutznager.
How do you spell your last name, Caleb?
Luttennegger.
Wow, that's a last name.
Yeah,
Like, but I don't have any room in my last name to make comments about anybody else's last name. When people ask me how to spell my last name, I tell them you spell it like you smell it. And that's so that's the easiest way to go about that. Yeah. Okay. So I do not see you in my class list. I will reach out to Curtis, and I'll reach out to the D2L and HIU and make sure you get on that list, and that will be done before noon tomorrow. Okay, Caleb? Okay.
That'd be wonderful. I did email HIUs and enrollment.
Yeah.
So they hopefully have seen that as well. But thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay, let me just tell you a little bit about some of the assignments that are coming up. And I want to make sure I get to the right page on this. Here we go. In the week, there are 3 days to remember. Monday night is class. Thursday night is discussion post. The next Sunday night after the class are your quizzes and any assignments for that week. Just so simple. And you can remember, but 2 weeks before our class starts, all the readings and the videos will open up. So you've got 2 weeks basically to kind of have access to all that material. And once something is opened, I don't have any closed down dates. So you should be able to just keep on accessing that. Let me tell you about the quizzes for those who are doing for credit. I think that the final is an assessment of what you gained and what you gleaned and what you have taken away from the class. That is a test assessment. The quizzes, I feel like, should be a learning tool. And so when you go into the quiz, you will see that you have unlimited opportunities to take that quiz over and over and over again. Each quiz has a total of about 15 questions. You are only asked 10 of them at a time. So to get 100%, you got to get 10 right. 90 is 9, etc. So what I've set it up though is that you retake that quiz until you get above 80%. So and that way you kind of learn, you're like, okay, these are important things. You're being reminded of them. You're reviewing them, and you're learning. And if you take it a couple times and you get in the 60s, then my suggestion is to kind of go back and do a little bit of a review, and then come back and hit it again. But it's a time limit of 20 minutes for every time you take it, if it takes you that long. And but there's no limit to how many times you can take it. And also it never closes. So so when you're studying for your final, you can go back and review and test yourself through the quizzes, which I think is a nice tool for you to be able to have. You will also get a guide, a study guide for your final. And I think I'll have that out to you this week. But it's basically your final is taken from 100 questions from a pool of about 200 questions. And I'm just going to give you the 200 questions. Because that's the core of what we want you to kind of get, right? So as you're studying and things like that, if you've reviewed that guide and you come across something, oh, that's one of those questions that popped up in the final study guide, and you can pop down your answer. And then when you go to study for your final, you can use the quizzes and you can use the study guide. My goal is to help you be successful. I don't want to give you the answers and things like that, but I do want you to be able to really prepare yourselves. So does that sound okie dokie artichoke? All right. All right. We'll talk about milestone and capstone a little bit later, especially for those credit students. But I just wanted you to understand mainly the quiz format. Take it until you get the score you want, but it has to be above 80%. All right. For me to count it as that you've actually done it. All right. And count it for credit. And then you know that at least you're getting a B on your credit, on your quizzes. All right. The thing I dislike the most about Zoom is that it's a poor substitute for the community that you can find in the educational academic world when you're sitting in class. So it's kind of nice that 9 of you are sitting at North Community Church, and you get kind of a camaraderie and things like that. So can you tell me what 9 of you who are in the North Community Church?
Yep, so we've got Parker, Robbie, Danielle, Jansen, Jeffrey Jansen, Aiden Fisher, Ben Larange, Caleb Lutenegger, who you are looking up later, Pegs, or you go Maggie on the thing, Maggie Rochel, Lori Schmidt, Stephanie Sward, and we're gonna add one more. I emailed Curtis about this, but Andrew, what's your last name? Stadler. Andrew Stadler is joining us here as well, and we're gonna try and get him registered.
Okay, I've got.
And then one more, Catherine Weegriff too. Catherine Weegriff. She'll be here. in a
Okay,
couple minutes.
I have Parker, Danielle, Jeffrey, Ben, Caleb, Maggie, Lori, Stephanie, Andrew, Catherine. I think I'm missing someone.
Yep. Aiden Fisher.
Aiden. Okay, so when we go into the Zoom groups, I'll just expect you guys to be a group unto yourselves. Is that fair?
Yep, that's perfect.
Okay. All right. And so what we'll do every once in a while is, after doing some discussion, we'll break down and head into some Zoom groups to be able to discuss a certain question, or break out into right now it's to get to know you. So this is what we're going to do. Have you ever played round table ping pong? Have you ever played that, where you got a whole group standing around the ping pong table And and one
Yes.
person hits and then they have to, and everybody rotates around the table, right? Okay, well, this is round table, and this may seem really silly to you, but we do need to make sure that we review this. So this is round table Old Testament books. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna, if there's like 4 or 5 of you, like North Community, you're gonna be 9 of you, all right? And the first person to go Genesis, and second one is Exodus, Leviticus, number, and it gets tossed, and it goes back to the first person all the way around until you've done all of the books, okay? And I want you to do that a couple different times. I want you to start it at different places so you don't keep on saying the same book, right? I got you. So, but you're going to go through and review the order, the English Bible order of our Old Testament books. All right. And then what I'd like you to do is I will try to put 9 people in every group. That might be a little much, but we'll see. But then what I'd like you to do is I would like you to time yourselves and see how fast your group can get through the Old Testament. And here's the deal. If you hiccup, you have to start over. Okay. So if it's like, somebody's like, Zephaniah, nope, sorry, almost made it, have to start over. And you start over at Genesis again, and you pop it all the way through until it just clicks and everybody's on it, right? So before you go into that, I don't know which camera to look at. Before you go into the whole Old Testament books, roundtable of the Old Testament books, I would like you to introduce yourselves, and I'd like you to just share with each other one thing that excites you about taking an Old Testament intro class. All right, one thing that excites you, who you are. You can say a little bit about where you're from or whatever. But with 9 people in there, you're going to want to click it through pretty fast. And then one thing about what makes you excited about studying the Old Testament. All right. So, North Community, you guys can break off, and I'm going to put the other classmates into a group. Okay. So let's see. I wanted to set this up ahead of time, but I kind of wanted to see who we were working with. So this first time it will take just a couple minutes to get you guys into your breakout rooms. So all right. Okay, I'm gonna put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in Aria, Dodie, Jordan, Natalie, and Trevor. You're gonna be in breakout room 1. And Jaden and Joseph, Lawson, Mark, and well, we'll just go the rest of you in breakout room number 2, 5, and 6. All right. And I've opened them up. Lawson, are you having trouble?
Hello?
Yeah,
Okay, you can hear me now?
yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm having connection issues because I couldn't get it to work on my computer, so I've got it on my phone now.
Okay. I'm gonna kick you into a breakout room.
Perfect.
I'm getting ready to, here we go. There you go.
Oh,
That is not, it didn't happen. You're still with me, aren't you? Oh, here we go.
there it goes.
Our group left the breakout room and are shooting back
Yeah,
here.
I'm closing the.
So, yeah, it was hard. We didn't break 2 minutes.
You didn't break 2 minutes.
That's how weird. The Zoom's so weird. I'm trying to find my card on my computer.
Okay. I'm waiting for room 2 to join us. Those of you who have joined me, can you see the whiteboard?
No,
You can't see the whiteboard?
no,
No. Is it Dodie?
yes.
Okay,
Where is it?
I think up in your corner, there's a thing that says view.
Okay,
And I think you can choose a view that will allow you to see a whiteboard.
oh, okay, the one with the Hebrew letters?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Sounds great. Okay, coming back, let's see, I'm trying to see who all is here. I think we have the majority of us. Okay, this is a really rudimentary look at the first 3 words in the book of Genesis. Barashith, bara, Elohim. And that means in the beginning, he created God. And then it goes on with more that says, Et Hashemayim, Va'et Haaretz, Va'aretz, Hayata. I have to look at that again. Tayaho, no, sorry, Tahu, Vavohu. And that takes us all the way to the heavens and the earth was empty and void. But these are the first 3 words. Barashith, bara, Elohim. And one of the things I want to help us understand, I'm getting a feedback and I'd like to not. So hang on just a second. Okay, I can still get it back. So one of the things that I want to help us understand is a little bit of it's a history and ancient and literature of ancient Israel. And some of the literature aspect of it is difficult. We are not people who are part of the ancient Near Eastern culture. We do not, most of us speak Hebrew fluently, or that's not our first language. And we definitely are not from that time and era. So there's some natural barriers or hurdles that we kind of have to get over and work through when we come to interpreting and discerning the Word of God and understanding what its original meaning is. And so one of the things to understand is that the Hebrew text did not have vowel points or punctuation until about the 8th century BCE. And so if you look here, can you see my pencil? Can you see that? I'm not sure what you can and cannot see, but you'll see here in this first letter, this is the consonant, the B consonant, B. And this dot right here and this dot right there, those 2 dots are part of the voweling. It's if we were going to say Barashith, we would say Bara,
SH, probably EITH, Barashith, something like that, right? So in Hebrew, the vowels are all these little vowel points. Here's a vowel point here, and this dot and that apostrophe is another vowel point. And so until the 8th century, the Old Testament was more of an oral tradition passed down throughout all the years. And while it was written, because it was an oral tradition and people were so familiar with it, they knew how to say this. And so then, and not until the 8th century did these vowel points start get putting on, right? If you ever go visit the country, the nation of Israel, you'll notice on their street signs and things like that, things are written in Hebrew here and there, but they don't have vowel points on it. So like, okay, what exactly? And the important thing is that those vowel points tell us what kind of what part of grammar the word is. And so we read in the beginning, Barashith, bara, he created, Elohim, God. So we would read that first sentence. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And our text puts a period there. So if you can open your text to Genesis 1, if you want to follow along. Yes, I'm pulling mine open just to make sure I'm speaking the truth. In the NRSV, they actually put a comma because of this. So in some translations, you see a period there. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and it's almost like that's a done deal, right? And then it goes on to talk about, well, the earth was without form, it was void, there was darkness there, the Spirit of God moved and hovered over the face of the waters. But that second word right here, the word he created, if the vowel points were slightly different, it would denote a continual action. So instead of saying, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, it would read more like, in the beginning of God's creating the heavens and the earth was without form. And like the NRSV puts in here, a comma, it's a continual thought. And it also denotes that God is continually in this creative process, which through the Old Testament narrative, we know that that's true, right? So what I'm trying to kind of drive at here is there are nuances that by studying the original language a little bit through word study helps and things like that, we can come into maybe a broader understanding of the text. And we have to be careful of that because you always interpret in community, right? But it is important to go back, and one of the easiest things to do is to say, okay, I've got a King James, I got an NIV, I've got NRSV, and maybe another translation. You can compare translations and you can see how English translators have approached the text and if they have any differences amongst them. If there are differences, we've got a question to answer. Why? What is causing that difference? And that's where you head to your commentaries and your dictionaries and your word study helps, and you kind of get a background of what the scholars have learned about that text and why there were maybe two different ways that it's being portrayed in our English text. But at least you've got a broader understanding of that text. And so for some people, instead of it sounding bara, and I left the punctuation off of this. Okay, not the punctuation, I'm sorry, the vowels. So in the Hebrew text, you will see those two vowels underneath those consonants. And some contest that those weren't the vowels. Instead of it sounding bara, it sounded more like bro. And so there is a like there instead there was a dot up here, and let me see. Yeah, so it sounds bro, which it would in which is the infinitive instead of the perfect tense. And that gives you that continual action type of an idea. In the beginning of God creating the heavens and the earth, when the earth was wild and waste, or they, our Bible says void and darkness. Some translators translate that uninhabitable. It's not that it wasn't nothing. It wasn't nothing. There was something there, right? But the Hebrew denotes kind of this uninhabitable state, right? When all of that was happening, the Spirit of God was hovering over that whole thing. God's presence has always been there from the very, very beginning of the creation act. So, and maybe that breeds a little bit of a new, that's interesting. And so the reason I kind of share this a little bit with you is because when we approach the study of the Old Testament, we have to recognize our interpretive grid. We have to recognize where we come to the text lacking in the background knowledge, in understanding the culture and the times. And that's part of the Old Testament study that has to be done. And so your text that we have, the Hill and Walton text, does a great job of helping you understand that background that's happening. So just want to encourage you that as we go through this, seek out the background of the text and understand things without just like glossing kind of over it and not acknowledge. And then the other piece would be to just acknowledge your own interpretive grid, right? When I come to the story of Hagar and Ishmael in Genesis 16, you can turn to that. And we read about Hagar being misused and abused by Sarai. And we learn that they're cast out, and she's sitting in the wilderness alone. And as I'm going through and reading that, if I read that as a middle-class American cultured person with a husband and a couple children and a roof over my head, I'm missing some of the beauty of that text, because Hagar was a foreigner among Abram and Sarai's culture. She was a woman with no husband. She had a child. She's been outcast. She was a slave. And all of those things, if I don't recognize all of those things that are happening in this story, I miss the beauty of what God does in that moment. Because in that story, God reveals himself for the first time in our text as El Roy. And if you look at verse 13 of chapter 16, so she named the Lord who spoke to her, "You are El Roy." It's a foreigner that's giving a name to God. Guys, catch that. Is God only for the Israelites? No, he's always been about all nations, right? So it's amazing that a female and a female who's a foreigner and a slave, that she gets to give God a name that sticks in our text. Like, that's huge and it's beautiful, right? So God comes to her in the middle of all of her distress, in the middle of the wilderness. It says, verse 7, the angel of the Lord found her. So he's looking for her. Found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, the spring on the way to Shur. And he says to her, Hagar, slave girl of Sarai. He's recognizing her place. Where have you come from and where are you going? And she's like, I'm running away. I'm running away from my mistress Sarai. And the angel of the Lord says to her, return and submit. The angel of the Lord also said to her, I will so greatly multiply your offspring that they cannot be counted for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said to her, now you have conceived and shall bear a son, and you shall call him Ishmael, for the Lord has given heed to your affliction. He shall be a wild ass of a man, with his hand against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, and he shall live at odds with all of his kin. Now, I don't know if I was pregnant, if I'd want that kind of prophecy over my child. So that's maybe a little bit discouraging. But then Hagar is recognizing the beauty of the moment, that God has come to her and he has seen her in her plight. So she named the Lord who spoke to her, you are El Roy. For she said, I have really seen God and remained alive after seeing him. Therefore, the well was called Bir Lahai Roy. It lies between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram named his son, whom Hagar bore, Ishmael. All right. So one of the significant things to notice is when there are first time happenings throughout your text and the names of God. Every time you get a first time happening with the name of God in your text, you kind of want to take note, like what's going on here, right? So, but as I approach this chapter, this text, and I want to understand this, I have to understand that I'm not a woman of color. I am not a slave. I am not cast out. I am not pregnant and have nowhere to go. Those are things that I have to go, okay, I got to pull away my interpretive grid and what I bring to the text and pull that away and try to see this through the eyes of the characters and the happenings that are happening there. So, El Roy is one of the names of God that is such a beautiful name of God. And it reminds us that he is a God of seeing, that he sees us in our needs. Now, can I do that? Can I take a text about Hagar and an encounter that Hagar with God and apply it to my life? It's not rhetorical. I'm actually asking you to engage.
No.
Okay, Jordan, why?
I mean, I don't have a reason. I just wanted to give you an answer.
I'm
Thank
gonna
you,
say
very little.
yes. Yes from
Yes.
Sandy.
Okay, Sandy
I'll go
says,
yes.
and Joseph says yes. Okay, what does North Community say?
Yes.
Both of us are saying yes.
Joseph or Jordan, you're outnumbered.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed
Okay.
now.
No, absolutely. You can do that, but you can't do it before you recognize what was happening in that context, right? And so one of the things that the lecture and the book reminds us is that the Old Testament was written not to us, but it was written for us, right?
Mhm.
But it wasn't written originally to us. So when we come to the Old Testament text, we got to look at it and say, okay, this was written for a people in this time and this age, and this is what was going on at that time. They were in exile, or they were after the exile, or whatever it was. You have to recognize those things so you understand the text better. But then, yes, you can, because the whole Old Testament story is a story of God revealing himself to us. Right? He wants to show who he is. And when he shows his character to us, of course, we can apply that into who he is to us today. Right? Because we see that through the narrative of the Old Testament. It goes through the narrative of the New Testament. And then, of course, he's given us the Holy Spirit. And through the church history, we continue to see the character of God and being revealed to us through those things. So yeah, so we can say this God of seeing that Hagar encountered in Genesis 16, such a beautiful encounter, that idea of God seeing us, yeah, we can absolutely understand God. And that's part of the point, you guys. Part of the goal of this class is not just to get the dates and the times and the places down, right? When I took my intro to Old Testament class in my graduate studies, it was a 2-semester class, and these are my notes from that 2-semester class. It's a huge undertaking to go through and identify every happening and every person and every time and things like that. We've got 8 weeks. We are not going to be able to dive that deep, but I do want to give you through the lectures and through the Bible Project videos and through our times together, I want to give us an overview of the reason to continue to study and to continue to dive deep into the Old Testament. And one of the main reasons is because God, through the Old Testament, his purpose in the Old Testament is to reveal himself to us. And when we understand who the Father is, that goes deep into who we are, right? So we want to see the character of God and the revelation of God through this whole story. So is it a story about, like, is Genesis a story about a historical story that includes creation and all these historical points? Is that the point of it? Not rhetorical.
It's to teach me about who God is and his character.
Right. So we can get hung up at times discussing about whether Jonah was really swallowed by a whale
and see you
or
again.
not. I have opinions about that. Now, can you see me twice now?
Now I can see only you. Well, I'm having trouble on my iPad. Let's see, because here we go.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, picture of
All
you.
right. So,
all right.
So we can get hung up on all the little minutiae of detail. And it's not bad to dive deep into the detail. That's okay. That reveals things. But we don't want to miss the fact that through this historical narrative, God's purpose is to show himself to us.
Right.
That's the biggest goal that he's trying to accomplish. And so every time you come to a text, you want to say, well, that was interesting that the Amalekites got creamed by the Israelites. You know, you can say, like, and wow, it's 3,000 people and with only 300 people and the jaw of an ass, and all those stories, they're neat. But what is it revealing to you about God? What does it teach you about God? Because I'll tell you, when you come to the New Testament and we hear the story of the prodigal son, and we have one son who goes haywire. I think I might have just lost you. Okay. we have one son that's gone haywire, and we have one son that stays at home. And the son that ran off and spent all the riches and squandered everything and ends up living sleeping with the pigs and eating with the pigs, he missed the father's heart,
Mhm.
right? And he missed it in his rebellion. But the son who stayed home also missed the father's heart, and he missed it in legalism.
Mhm.
So if we can study the Old Testament and come to a greater understanding of the heart of the Father, oh man, we are leaps and bounds ahead in our relationship with Christ and with God. And so that's the overarching goal. That's what we're trying to accomplish in all of our time together. Let's see, what time are we at? 7:17. We're doing pretty good. Do you need about a 5-10 minute break to hit the bathroom and get something to drink and breathe a little? I'm gonna take that as yes. I need a 5-minute break.
There you go.
So
Hey,
here we
I've
go.
done a report on the prodigal son when I took this class when I was attending Crown College and everything. And it when Sandy and when I was pulled out of there, it was Sandy Alberg and my pastor Doug White that told me to go over to the crossroads, and it's working a whole lot better seeing it you guys on Zoom.
Good. Okay, so let's see, it's 7:18. Let's meet back together at about 7:25. That's about a 7-minute break. We'll kind of wrap up our thing today, and then at the very end, I want a few minutes with just the credit students. Okay, go have a break. Okay. We're back, but while we're waiting for people to join us, let me just make sure. If you hear your name, say yes or indicate something. I'm trying to keep track of who we have with us. So I know Sandy is here. Charity. Is Charity part of the new, part of the community?
No,
That's good. Yeah.
So I don't think I see Charity here. Josh Dewey,
Josh Dewey would be, he's not here tonight, but he is North Side.
Oh, is he in this too?
And
Okay.
also Anna Lee just showed up a little bit ago too, if you have Anna Lee on your list.
I do, and I got Danielle. I know she's with you guys, and
Yep.
Jeffrey's with you guys.
Nice.
Yep.
Let's see. Derek Mueller.
He is with us, but not today.
Okay, Reagan Mueller.
Likewise.
Okay, Mark. Mark was here, yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
And
here.
Dorothy Pratt. Got her. Natalie Pratt. Is
Yes,
Dorothy
here.
is Natalie with you, Dorothy?
No, separate.
Oh, there you are. Okay. And Maggie.
Maggie Rochel.
Yeah, she's with North Community. Gotcha. I'm catching on. Lori Schmidt,
Yes, North Side.
great. Stephanie's North Side and Catherine is North Side. Right.
Correct.
And then, let's see. Here we go. Aiden Fisher
Aiden Fisher, yes.
and Lawson's here. Melinda Crick. I don't think I've seen her. Trent. Is he here? Melissa Gardner.
That's North Side, but she is not here tonight.
Okay, Deborah Gray. Wanda Holler. Ben is with North Side, right? I
Correct.
think I've got Trevor here. Oliver. No. Jordan's here. Parker, I think, has been here. Tim.
Yeah, Tim is not here tonight.
Okay. Joseph Smith's here.
Schmidt, it's the Schmidt, not.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, you're right. Schmidt. Jaden here and
Yes, I'm
Aria.
here.
Right. Okay. Good. That helps me just get everybody marked in. So, all right. Our discussion post for this week is, let me get to it. Make sure it's about the covenant that we find in Genesis 12, 15, and 17. And God promised Abraham land and descendants and to be a blessing to other nations. So how does God fulfill these promises to the families of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? And what lessons do we learn from how God fulfills these promises? And so I'm going to send you out into your groups again, and I'm going to take a look at these groups real fast. Let's see. Trevor McGinnis, you're going to be the moderator for your group. And let's see, I'm gonna have Parker be the moderator for room 2.
And Tay, it'd be easiest if we were in just our own room.
Yep.
Nobody else with us.
Right.
Like it's hard to
So
people.
do you want me to put your actual video in that room, or are you just muting and talking?
Sure, we can do that. Yeah, we can just mute and talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think I've got everybody in. If you don't go to a room, I'll send you to a room, okay?
Could you by chance put the question in the chat? My canvas is not updated yet.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank
That's a
you.
great idea. All right, so the question is Genesis 12, 15, 17. God promised Abraham land, descendants, and to be a blessing. There might be typos to other nations. How does God fulfill these promises to the families of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? And what lessons do we learn from how God fulfills these promises? That's the prompt for this discussion post. And so what I'd like you to do is not just speculate with each other. I'd like you to open up your Bibles. I'd like you to review the call to Abram, and that would be like chapter 12, 1 through 9. Oh, actually, it's chapter 12, 1 through 3, basically. That's the covenant part. And then in chapter 15,
The whole thing.
have a second encounter with God where God reiterates his covenant again. And that's verses 1 through
All of
about
it.
16. And then in chapter 17, you see a reiteration of the covenant again. And that would be verses, chapter 17, verses 1 through, well, it kind of goes through that whole chapter, but you could, if you went through 1 through 15 at least, or 14, that would cover the basics of it. All right. So I kind of want you to study these together and then go over this question and talk about this discussion. I'm going to give you, we're going to come back together at like 7:45, wrap up our class, dismiss the auditors, and make sure that the credit students understand the assignments and things like that. Sound great? All right, I've opened up the rooms. You're out. We have most of us back in. I think we do. All right. Well, I hope the discussion was helpful. I stopped in went both rooms to be able to kind of hear your discussion a little bit. And Sandy, you stole a little bit of my wrap-up thunder. But you'll notice in these three covenants, each one is a continuation of the original one, right? It's not three separate kinds of covenants. So he calls Abram into this covenantal relationship with him and promises to make him a great nation. And if you'll notice in Genesis 11, we have the story of the Tower of the Babel. And what was their goal? Jordan. The goal of the people to build the Tower of Babel. What was it?
To reach God or to ascend to God's level or something like that, and kind of in that sense.
Yeah. And to make a great name of themselves, right? And the tower that they built that was reaching into the heavens is often thought of like a ziggurat, like a pyramidic, and those were built as temples. So they're reaching up and making kind of their own God and their own worship type of thing. So they're going to be gods unto themselves in some ways, right? And so that's what we have in chapter 11. And then you flip the page to the start of the Abrahamic covenant. And what we see God saying to Abram is, after he's scattered everybody at Babel, he's scattered them, confused their languages, and all that's like, no, that's not going to happen like that. But it can happen like this. And he comes into Abram and he says, I will make of you a great nation. Exactly what the people at Babel wanted to make of themselves. God confers that onto Abram now. He's going to make of him a great nation. And it's not so that you can have a name unto yourself, but it's so that my name will be glorified. So that people can come to know me and you can reveal me. I'm going to bless you so that you can be the blessing, right? And to who? To just the Hebrew people, the Hebrew nation? No, to all nations, right?
Mhm.
To all nations. God's always had the whole world in view, always inclusive. And so when you come to the 15 and you've got Abraham going, hello, no offspring, what's going on? And he's questioning this and he wants to take Eliezer, his servant, and create offspring out of him, make him kind of his descendant, his heir. God comes back on the scene. He says, whoa, 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 this is my covenant with you, and I'm faithful to it, and have patience in this process. I have not left you, and I still plan to make of you a great nation, and your descendants will be as many as the stars in the skies, right? And in that, he takes a cultural ritual of the ancient Near Eastern world that Abram and anybody else reading or hearing about this of that time would understand. And what you do is you take the animals and like what he say, bring a heifer, female goat, ram, turtle dove, and young pigeon, and you split those animals right down the middle. You cut them right in half. And you lay those halves out on either side. And then the two people making a covenant together in this ritual would walk through those animals cut in half. And they walk through it as a promise to each other that basically says, see these animals here split in half and their blood, may that happen to me if I do not follow through on my covenant with you. That's the symbolism that's going on there. There's blood being spilt for the covenant, and we hearken that, of course, in New Testament, but I don't want to read that back into the Old Testament, right? So but the biggest point is that God is willing to walk through, and that's what you have here in this chapter. He walks through those sacrificial animals cut in half. And he says to Abram, if I don't follow through on this promise with you, then let this be me. Let me be torn in two like this. And so that is a language that Abram could understand. Like, and that's one of the things to know. Like, God uses the things in the culture and the things around his people to help them understand him better. It's not like he pulled this out of nowhere and Abram's going, what's going on here? These animals are cut in half. Abram would look at this and go, I know exactly what's going on here, because he's grown up in that culture and he understands what this covenant ritual is all about. So I think that's part of the beauty. God speaks our language, right? He comes down into our, what this is, New Testament, incarnate Christ, right? But here we already see it back right away at the beginning of his covenant. And then when you jump over to 17, you're jumping over 16 that we talked about, Hagar and Ishmael, right? Abram's going his own way and figuring it out because he's getting older and he's getting scared and he functions out of fear. And then God comes in again and he says to him, reminding him, you will be exceedingly numerous and you will have a multitude of nations and you'll be fruitful. And he reveals himself to Abram for the first time in our text. God is revealed in chapter 17 as El Shaddai. And we will talk about El Shaddai next week a little bit as we head into talking about the law as well. But the other thing I want to come back to is this, you guys. In chapter 15, verse 16, when it says, and they shall come back here in the fourth generation, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet complete. Sandy, I heard you mention to your group that there's judgment for the wickedness of the Amorites. And that's true. But what I'd like us to see in this text is not just that there's judgment for the wickedness, but God is working with the Amorites. Does that make sense? Like, we don't have record of that, but God is aware of all those other nations and he knows where they're heading and how they walk in wickedness or whatever it is. And so when we come later in the text and God allows the Israelites just to wipe the Amorites off the face, right? We go, oh my gosh, how could God ever do that? But in Genesis, we're seeing that God is being a patient God, and their wickedness hasn't come to a point yet that deserves that kind of judgment. But he sees ahead and he's looking and saying, it's going to come to that. And it's sad that it's going to come to that. But I'm going to wait for that to come to its fullness before they deserve a judgment of that. And I think the biggest thing that teaches us is that God is at work among people that we think this is all about the Hebrew nation. The story is being told through their history, but God is at work in everybody's lives, trying to call him and draw him to them. And his goal with the Hebrew nation was that they would be a reflection of who he is, so that the world could come to, they'd be a blessing to those, and he's going to bless them to be that blessing. Couple things to think about as you're processing through your quiz and your assignments and things like that. One of the things is what attributes of God do you see in creation? And what attributes of God do you see through this covenant story, this middle section where we're seeing the covenant, and then the final thing would be coming to, and of course the Abram story is all in Genesis, but you come down to Joseph at the end of Genesis. And Joseph is, he's been sold by his brothers, and he's been off, and he's made his all sorts of success. and his brother, and there's famine in the land, and his brothers come over, and they realize that it's Joseph that's the head of all of what's happening in Egypt. And they are fearful to come in front of him. And in chapter 50, Joseph says to them, don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? In other words, your judgment, and that's going to come from God. That doesn't need to come from me. Even though you intended to do me harm, God intended it for good, in order to preserve a numerous people, as he is doing today. So have no fear. I myself will provide for you and your little ones. And in this way, he reassured them and speaking kindly to them. And then it goes on to about his death. But take a good look at that. Here at the end of Genesis, you have Joseph, who's been preserved to preserve this nation and this people of God. And he understands that he was sold into slavery, and he's faced all of the things that he's faced and years away from his family, because God was going to use him for good, even though his brothers meant it for evil. And then you go back to Genesis 1, and you're seeing the beginning of the story of good and evil. And those concepts kind of bookend your book of Genesis, because God meant it for good, the Garden of Eden, but gave us that choice. And Adam and Eve separated themselves from God's will, and we have this introduction of the fall, and then this whole story of how that evil keeps on perpetuating throughout this history. And then you come to the back end of Genesis, and the thing you come back to is, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. And God will use whatever circumstances for good. And if you're hearing Romans in that, you can just don't bring Romans back into this. Bring this forward to Romans. All right. So I hope that's a really fast overview. We didn't talk about the nitty gritty of Adam and Eve and all that type of stuff. And if you have questions about that and you want to discuss that, we can. Let me know. There are certain things we want to make sure we cover, but at the same time, I want you to get out of this class what you'd like to get out of this class too. I want, if you walk away going, Cal, we didn't talk about this, we didn't talk about that, I was hoping that I'd have a better understanding of this certain thing. Let's do that. So send me emails and say, hey, can we touch on this? Can we learn about this? I'm not understanding this. If in your reading and in your lectures, something you don't understand, shoot me a text. I'll text you back. But if it's something like, well, I think we should discuss that too, then we'll bring it up in our class time as well. Does that sound okay, you guys? All right. Thanks for a great first night. It's 7:59. If you're a credit student and can hang with me for about 5 minutes or so, I just want to make sure that you are tracking and you are well on your way to making sure the class is working for you and you're not falling behind in this first week. That's really frustrating. So want to make sure we get our questions answered. Okay? If you're an auditing student, we'll see you next week. Thanks for being here. Okay, for credit students, I'm going to open up my syllabus here and just make sure that a couple things that we go over and that you are well aware of ahead of time. Besides your videos and your readings that you have to do, and then the follow-up discussion post, and then the follow-up quizzes, whatever they are for the week. Besides those things, you have a couple bigger projects, and one is due at the end of the 4th week. I think my internet's bogging down, but the end of the 4th week would be this would be due November 17. Okay. The week 4 is actually 11/4. I have to think. It opens 11/4. Our date is 11/11, and then your paper will be due on 11/17. And before that, in week 2, I have an extra assignment in there that basically you need to tell me which book you want to study. So the assignment of your milestone paper is basically you get to choose an I'm trying to find, here it is. You get to choose a book in the Old Testament that you want to study, and then the milestone paper kind of goes through the things that you need to do to present a paper on it. Okay. So you can see that that's already open, so you can go to that in the assignments. You can go down, you can see you need an introduction and historical background and its purpose and its themes and its application and conclusion, and there's parameters for that paper. That is due November 17. And I just want you, like, you're aware of it now. By week 2, I want to know that you've chosen a book. So that was like, we don't forget about it. And you get to week 3 and you're like, oh my gosh, I've got this big paper due. For undergraduate students, it's a 4 to 5 page paper. For graduate students, it says 5 to 6. I actually think it has to be 6 to 8. I think I have to change that there. In the syllabus, I think it says 6 to 8. So it's not a really, really difficult project, but it's going to take you a little bit of time. All right. So that's the first thing that you want to make sure you're aware of. And then the other thing would be the capstone project. And of course, that's due at the very, very end. And our last class is December 9. Everything for that class is due the 15th. So you have until December 15 to finish your capstone project and get that turned in. And your final will also be due by the 15th of December as well. This is what you need to know. That's the end of the semester for HIU. And so I have until the 18th to grade everything and turn my grades in. So the 15th is a pretty hard date. Like, I've got to have a couple days to be able to go through that. So so you'll want to work ahead, of course, and work on that capstone. I won't be able to extend it past the 15th of December because of the grading timing that has to be done. So those are the two bigger projects that you work on. And then if you open up the where is that at? If you open up the capstone paper assignment, you'll notice that it's a thing about the Seder meal and Passover meal, and then correlating it to the Eucharist or the Lord's Supper now. But on the website, on your Canvas, it doesn't show you the alternatives, but in your syllabus, I've given you alternatives. If you're looking at that Seder meal, just going, how am I going to get 4 to 5 to 8 people together and do this meal thing and stuff like that? And that's just like not really in your reality. I get that. So then you could choose maybe a book or a project on how you see God exemplifying grace throughout the Old Testament. Or you might say these are attributes of God that the Old Testament shows, and you would kind of walk us through 4 or 5 attributes of God and how you see those attributes being woven through the Old Testament. You could do a study on the names of God, which is a really interesting study as well. The biggest thing is we want you to be able to grapple with the text in a overarching type of a sense. Like, you're not just dealing with one book, you're dealing with the whole narrative of the Old Testament. And the Seder meal is nice because it also correlates with the Lord's Supper. And as a Christian, understanding that background is pretty nice. But also as a Christian, being able to understand how God showed and exemplified his grace. A lot of Christians don't think that God was was full of grace in the Old Testament, but that is not true. So for you to be able to weave that and have that kind of background, and that's very applicable into your Christian life. The names of God is a very applicable thing, understanding the character that he reveals through the names. So, and maybe you got an idea of your own, which is really just fine. I'm really open to it. So I think it's by, I can't remember which week it is, but there is a week that I put down a post that you have to tell me, I'm going for the Seder one, or I'm going for an alternative, and I want to talk with you about it. If you're going for an alternative, let's talk about it. Let's make sure we've got your parameters nice and clear and you're ready to go for it. Do any of you have any questions for me this first night?
I got a question. I'm in a sociology class for Minnesota West. In that last paper, is it okay I mix some sociology in it? Because I have to do around that time I have to do the same for there. So I thought the instructor said if I in this class if I can combine both, he said that will be easier for me. So is it okay I do that?
Let's keep talking. Let's find out where you want to take that paper. I surely don't want like a psychology of God type of thing.
No, it won't.
But
but
let's talk about what you can do. Yeah, absolutely
Even
open to a conversation about
suggestions.
that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
So we do, just to confirm, we do need to do the discussion board every week, even if we are in class.
Yeah, and basically what that tells me is that you were in class and you got something out of that discussion. So literally, you guys, I think that that's like a 60-second gig or a 2-minute gig. Like just go in and say, in my discussion group, we talked about the covenants and somebody said this about the covenants. I didn't agree with them because of whatever, or it made me really question this, or just something that tells me that you engaged in that. It does, like, you seriously, like, it does not have to be long, just a few sentences. And I don't want it to be this cumbersome type of an assignment for you. But but the other thing is that it's a graded assignment in Canvas. And so in order for me to get that graded for you, I need you to submit it.
Okay.
Right. So just say,
And
I was
then
in class and this is what I gleaned.
on the that final capstone, if I read it correctly, is it if there are other students locally that we can collaborate with, that we can work together on putting that meal together?
You can, and it's really the Seder meal is really a neat experience. In fact, I kind of wondered if I could possibly do it over Zoom with you guys, because it's like, oh man, it's such a neat experience. So, if you can, I would encourage you to do that. Yes, you all have to write your own paper and of your experience, and you got to do the background work and things like that. But doing the meal together, yes, you absolutely could.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions for you
Yeah,
guys?
I see where I can put that in there because that's being around group of people and how the group of visiting in there, that's sociology, and see how I can change it, put it in his report, but don't put it in yours, and see how that can ties and put it in there how I learned the religion from sociology and from this class together.
Okay.
I
Well,
figured it out on my own by thanks to
let's keep
Larson.
on talking, Joseph.
No, that one would work if I do it. That's there, because he wants me to do there, and one of the chapter 15 is religion. See, what if I do the meal, talk about the religion?
There you go.
It's part of sociology.
Yep. So let's just let's flesh that out together so that it matches both what here they're looking for, but also what you can glean from your Old Testament studies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to do
Okay.
both. And I will talk to Sandy and my Pastor Doug and see which best Bible for them to do for that first milestone. See what they think is best for me to do.
Yep. You just let me know.
Yeah, I have
Okay.
them help the decision for me, so I'll have them kind of help see what is best since they know my disability.
Good. Good.
So
Anybody else? Any other questions? Do you feel like you've got a good flow, like you understand the flow of the week? Because I think that that's been a really confusing thing for some of the SALT classes. And I don't want you to get into week 3 and go, oh my gosh, I'm so confused. All right. Okay, I'm not going to keep you any longer. Thanks for staying a few minutes longer. Glad you're in class. I hope you enjoyed this first night. It was fun to be with you guys.